How do you explain the discrepancy?
Well, I think she has a lot of explaining to do. I don't. She's now changed her story again and said, well, she'd been reassured they were all legal. So initially she didn't know about it, had not been briefed. Then she'd been briefed, but it wasn't clear. Now she'd been briefed and, in fact, had been told it was all legal, so she didn't worry about it. I think she has, a lot of explaining to do. I think on national security matters, she has an obligation either to say nothing or to tell the truth. And it's pretty clear in this case she's not telling the truth. But I think it leads to a much deeper issue, which is since 1993, when 7 people were killed at the World Trade Center, we've had 2 cycles. We had a Clinton administration that thought this was a criminal problem, that refused to allow the CIA and the FBI to cooperate, that refused to pressure Saudi Arabia or Yemen to go after people who were killing our folks. And then you had a Bush administration that said this is a war. I think the administration, if the Obama administration can release documents from the last 8 years, they ought to go back and release documents from the previous 8 years. I mean, what were the legal rulings of people like Holder, who, after all, you look at this administration, they've got at least
Attorney General Holder, who then was the Deputy Attorney General.
But you look at the Obama administration, the number of attorneys they've appointed who were defending alleged terrorists. I mean, there's this weird pattern where the Bush people wanted to defend Americans and were pretty tough on terrorists. These guys are prepared to take huge risks with Americans in order to defend terrorists. And you look at who
was defending terrorists?
Oh, I think, well, Holder's firm has 17 alleged terrorists that they're representing on a pro bono basis for no fee. It's the largest single thing they were doing for free, was defending Yemenis. I think there are 5 different attorneys in the Justice Department appointed by Obama who had their firms were defending alleged terrorists.
I want to ask you about one other aspect of this. Pelosi says even if she was briefed on this, that there was nothing she could do because these were classified briefings. She and the Republican chairman of the committee got this information. There's nothing they could do. You, as House Speaker, received these kinds of briefings back in the 90s. If you objected to a secret operation, was there something you could do?
Sure. The first thing you do is call the president and tell him you will feel compelled to pass a law cutting off the money. I mean, there are lots of things you can do if you want to do it. The Congress is pretty powerful if it wants to be. And second, they've had control since January of 2007. They haven't passed a law making waterboarding illegal. They haven't gone into any of these things and changed law. And in fact, they've had several votes. Recently, you find that Attorney General Holder's own Justice Department is saying, well, some of these memos are actually right. They're not wrong. So this is what we're seeing now in a very sad way is as bitter a partisan attack on the Bush people as we've seen since the McCarthy era. The degree that they're putting specific people at risk for criminal prosecution is unprecedented in modern America.
Meanwhile, the Obama administration says that it will close Guantanamo by next January and that some detainees who are judged not to be security risks will be released in this country. Question. If you're going to try to get other countries to accept these detainees, don't we have to do our share?
This is nuts. I mean, this is just crazy. These are not American nationals. We have no obligation to keep them here. They ought to go home. Now, their home country is saying, I won't take my own citizen? The idea we're going to put alleged terrorists on welfare and have you pay for them and me pay for them so they get to be integrated into American society. Remember, all these people were brought in on the grounds that they were trained in terrorist camps. So we're now going to take a guy who we don't have conclusive proof, and we're going to put him in American society paid by the American taxpayer because his home country won't accept him? Why is his home country not accepting him?
Well, let's take one example. The Chinese Uyghurs, Chinese Muslims who were arrested in Afghanistan, brought to this country. The Pentagon says they're not enemy combatants. At least one federal judge has said they're not a threat. But if they go back to China, they're going to be prosecuted.
Why is that our problem? I mean, what is it? Why are we protecting these guys? Why does it become an American problem?
So what? Send them to China?
Send them to China. If a third country wants to receive them, send them to a third country.